In an unforgivable turn of events, it appears that a candle factory in Kentucky, one of the ones that was destroyed in the tornadoes, the management actually prevented their employees from leaving work because of the tornado. They said that anybody who left would be fired. According to testimony by the workers themselves, they heard the tornado warning siren. Many insisted that they'd be able to leave for their own safety, but management would not allow it. They threatened the workers with termination if they did. At least 8 people died in the tornado that followed. So as this tornado was tearing through, workers begged the employers, please, let us leave. Please, can we go home and at least try to be in the safety of our own homes with our families during this difficult time? And management said, no, you're not allowed to go, and if you do, you're fired. Some people even chose to leave anyway, and subsequently were fired from the job. Eventually, when things got bad enough, the employees were allowed to go into the bathroom to huddle for shelter. Then when the initial tornado passed, the second tornado was still coming. That was the one that ended up killing 8 people. After the first one, they forced everybody back to the production floor, where eventually that second tornado came along and killed 8 people. When all was said and done, the building lay in ruins, and photos of the devastation spread far and wide. Photos and videos of its widespread mangled remains have become symbols of the enormous destructive power of Friday's tornadoes. Of course, the company Mayfield Consumer Products is denying all of the allegations. Dean Hampton of NBC News spoke to the victims.
Sure. So I just broke a national exclusive less than an hour ago. This story stems out of me going up to one of the shelters that was housing a lot of the people who had lost all their worldly possessions, who didn't have any power and electricity. No, the city doesn't have any power and electricity. And I talked to a guy there while I was interviewing him. He told me that he was an employee of the candy factory, and that while he was there, before the tornado came, a lot of people there had wished that they would have been able to leave and go home to take shelter there with their loved ones or somewhere else that was safe, but they weren't allowed to, because if they did, they risked losing their jobs. So I followed up, and I've spoken to 5 people who all give me the same story.
Now, in keeping with the same news, there was also the Amazon warehouse that collapsed on the same day, in which 6 workers were killed. Now, many of those workers are speaking out, saying that they were not given any safety training whatsoever for tornado emergencies. And some of them have even said, because they spoke to the media, that they even hadn't had a fire drill in about 2 years. There are entire stocks of employees that never had any safety drills whatsoever. Now they're all coming out and saying that this has been a problem. Now, as a result of this, OSHA, Occupational Safety Hazard, etc., said that it will now begin a 6-month investigation into the Edwardsville warehouse, the Amazon warehouse that just collapsed. And some of what has been going out on the media has been this very heartbreaking exchange, a text message exchange between a husband and a wife. And the wife trying to text her husband after he had already been killed by the tornado, and him saying he couldn't come home, he had to work, etc., and now he's dead. And that heartbreaking story has been going out into the media as an accurate representation of what the capitalist system is. Each day we are inundated by stories of not only just the unfairness, the inhumanity of the system itself. And here we have people who are dying for what? Some people were making candles. Oh, if they had been allowed to go home and see their families, what? They would have, missed a half a day's production of candles? So what? That was worth more than people's lives? Well, evidently to the company and the management, it was. Because it's more important to keep up that productivity than it is to take into consideration the human beings that are working for you. And this is the cold-blooded, outright evil nature of capitalism. Sorry to get metaphysical on you, but I'm going to have to agree with the statement that capitalism is evil, and shows why it has no place in any civilized society whatsoever. Oh, and even the ones traditionally considered uncivilized still didn't have it. So you know what? screw it. Capitalism isn't suitable for any human being, period. It is wholly inhuman. But that is the complete logic of the system. It is all about the profits, nothing about human life whatsoever. And we're supposed to believe that's what capitalism does, right? I mean, everybody just pursues their own thing and then magically everything works. And the freer the market, the freer their people, or some other cringy nonsense like that. But no, this is it. I mean, if anybody could possibly defend, the Mayfield consumer products or Amazon at this point, I'm sorry, I gotta wonder whether or not you have a soul. Sorry to be metaphysical again, but I am gonna have to wonder, metaphorically, if you have a soul, if you have any contingent, any piece of humanity whatsoever. I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. This would have been absolutely unacceptable in the Soviet Union. There's no way this would have been allowed to go through. And I'll put it to you this way. When something similar to this happens in Bangladesh, the owner of that company who refused to allow people to do what they need to do ended up dead. Now I'm referring to the garment factory that collapsed from a lack of safety measures, and like 100 employees died, and then they wanted to hold a service for the victims the next day, and management wouldn't let them, and then the Bangladeshi people went to the guy's house, and, well, he's dead now. So I'm just saying, this is a thing that happens in the third world, and I'm not trying to make some kind of comparison. I'm trying to say, if you keep pushing things bad enough, maybe things like what happens in Bangladesh is going to start happening here. Because if you are cold-blooded enough to have people come in and die in a tornado for candles, there are a lot of people who would feel that you were morally deserving of what happens to you. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.